The XRP ecosystem, it's evolving much faster than ever, and its value is set to far outgrow just what Ripple's doing with payments. Payments, that was the beginning. What David, Arthur, and Jed originally envisioned, well, that was much bigger. It was a foundation for the future global economy. Ripple, you see what they're doing. They're moving into stablecoins, RWAs, interoperability, custody, asset management. This shows you the horizon, it's much broader. But here's what most of the world is really missing: what's happening in the background with the XRP ledger. An ecosystem of symbiotic systems are really forming here, a system that will capture and scale value. Flare, it's bringing a full DeFi suite to XRP holders. The XRP ledger itself, well, already the original DeFi chain, it's expanding. We see NFT capabilities, AMMs, permission dexes, really a must for institutional adoption. Vertical scaling stablecoins. Look at how those things are growing. And most importantly, third party developers getting ready to deploy these capabilities to the masses. Now, I've been saying the canary in the coal mine for this convergence, it's the XAO DAO, a DApp built on the XRP ledger and its expanding capabilities, enhanced by the EVM Sidechain for full smart contract capabilities, and empowered by the interoperability and utility of Flare networks. Together, this stack, it represents a full suite of decentralized tools that will scale side by side in really a symbiotic manner. I pulled some clips from a fascinating conversation between Hugo from Flare Networks and Santiago, co-founder of the XAO DAO. They're going to discuss the decentralization of the XRP ledger, an essential conversation between two very technical minds. If anyone tries to tell you XRP is centralized, you best send them this video quickly. Make them watch it. You'll hear how the XAO DAO plans to leverage Flare to manage its treasury, maximizing value for its members with F assets. And what's most exciting about this conversation, you're going to see Santiago and Hugo, they just start brainstorming live on air, exploring what could be built, how it's going to take shape, and where the future is headed. I think you're going to find this conversation as eye-opening as I did. And of course, a huge thanks to Jenna X for allowing me to share these clips with you. Make sure to check out her channel. Watch the full interview. It's really good. And I'm going to try not to interrupt too much, but I'm going to sprinkle in my commentary to help guide us through this vision of the future, XRP ledger, Flare networks, and what I believe will be the first massive public application on the XRP ledger, the XAO DAO. This is the convergence. Let's dive in.
Well, I think it's important to define decentralization for a lot of people. The way I view it and what's important most to me is control of my private keys, and that transactions can make forward progress without some intermediary or some counterparty being able to kind of decide if they want to reverse that transaction or freeze it, suspend it. And so the XRP ledger, in my personal opinion, at a technical level, is highly decentralized. It's sufficiently decentralized for the purposes of what we're all trying to do here, which is to create kind of peer-to-peer systems. So, for DeFi in itself, the thing that XRP ledger has been lacking for a long time is a way for people to put their XRP to work. And it's a large untapped community and a large untapped resource. So I think that the time is right, and I'm excited to see Hugo and his team build out kind of the spearhead for that.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel that the XRP centralized perception will help or hurt its entry into DeFi?
First of all, XRP is not centralized. It's very clear. There's different degrees of decentralization. Some people claim more decentralization than other networks. Even if you take Bitcoin, sure, it has a hashing algorithm and these kind of things, but you do only have a few small centers where that can only be done. The hurdle for decentralization for Bitcoin is ownership of physical equipment. What I would say is that what we know is that a very large number of XRP holders hold their tokens through centralized entities like exchanges and institutions. Now that's a problem for DeFi, which is why that's a problem for DeFi in that your user base that actually hold the XRP themselves is relatively, as a percentage of the XRP holder base, relatively small. And that is why we've been working with Firelight, with our DeFi protocols, to effectively offer these services to institutions. Like, that's our market. That's where most of the XRP is. That's why you're seeing Vivo Power, Uphold, and Crypto.com make announcements about Flare. Our strategy is to go to institutions. Of course, we're retail friendly. In fact, we've been working really, really hard to make the flows of getting your XRP onto Flare easy, and then the flows of being able to use DeFi on Flare as easy as possible. We have a new wallet called Luminite, which means you don't even need a private key. And of course, we have some great wallets like Bifrost. We have Wallet Connect. We have a Flare portal. All these things help people use the network.
It's interesting. Santiago, he describes decentralization in the same practical manner that David does. The question is, it's not abstract. It's quite simple. Are your funds cryptographically secure? And can a middleman, can they freeze or block transactions? And by those real-world measurables, not opinions, but real-world measurables, the XRP is redundantly decentralized, and no one really gives us credit for it, but it's not a debate. It's just simple fact. Now, Hugo agrees with this, but he highlights a real pain point, right? Many XRP holders, they keep their assets on exchanges. Now, why that is, I don't know for sure, but it's not like a lot of crypto communities out there. A lot of XRP investors, I feel, they want to be integrated with traditional finance. They're not as focused on self-custody. What I like about Santiago and Hugo is they don't complain about this reality. They build solutions for the way the world really is. XAO DAO will allow exchange-based investors to participate in governance. Flare, well, you can provide DeFi tools that work even if you're holding your investments on exchanges. That's building for the real world, not an idolized one. And that's how we get to mass adoption. In this next clip, we're going to see Santiago explain how the XAO DAO could use Flare's F-asset system to safeguard and earn a yield on his treasury. He believes the risk profile is perfectly reasonable and appropriate for DAO-level assets. Santiago may draft this proposal, but ultimately, understand this, it's going to be the DAO members that vote on something like this. My gut says, though, the community is going to approve that one. Now, Hugo jumps in, and this is where it really gets interesting. He introduces ideas about leverage and lending protocols to safely boost that yield even farther. Now, even if the DAO decides that those strategies are too risky, Flare's going to offer a wide variety of financial products to fit different investors' risk profiles. This means growing demand for both Flare's D-apps and F-assets like Bitcoin and XRP, assets that historically haven't had access to DeFi use cases. It's good for both networks. Let's roll the clip.
Well, what is the XAO DAO going to do with that XRP? You could let it sit idle, but as we've just discussed, that's a waste of capital. And we have a responsibility as managers for the DAO to ensure that users' funds and ownership in that DAO is applied as effectively and securely as possible. From our perspective, FXRP is a perfect solution for applying a treasury where you want to minimize the risks to your membership, right? You can take that FXRP, as Hugo pointed out, you can stake it and earn yield on behalf of your members. And that would apply for any future assets that the XAO intends to purchase, invest in, et cetera, whether it's BTC or XLM or any other F asset that's available. Again, it's another investment option that gives our membership value. So for us, it's a no-brainer. We've seen a lot of failures in the industry, both at the DeFi level and at the DAO level, where the counterparty risk was very high, user funds were diverted or stolen. There was very little transparency. So from our perspective, have everything on chain, having agents being accountable with collateral. All of these are things that we should all be expecting. There really is no better bar. And I frankly think that in investment decisions that don't meet this threshold probably have an unacceptable level of risk for a huge body like a DAO. So we're super excited to be able to participate. And we are also working with exchanges because a vast majority of our membership holds their XRP with exchanges. So it's going to be very important that the user experience and the optionality of either having your XRP in self-custody or having an exchange hold it still lets you take the benefit of FXRP and F assets.
Santiago mentioned that the XAO DAO will have a sizable treasury, and I mentioned that one of the ways to get yield on that treasury would be to stake it in Firelight, which is a great way to do it. But there's another way to get very simple yield as well, using XRP. So you would convert it to FXRP on Flare, and you would deposit it in a collateralized debt stablecoin protocol, which is being built. So it allows you to deposit, let's say, $2 of XRP to get, let's say, $1.2, $1.5 of stablecoin out. And this then, you then have stablecoin, which is collateralized entirely by XRP. And then you can lend out that stablecoin, against other assets. It obviously has risk of liquidation and fluctuations of prices, but XRP is extremely liquid. And so therefore, you should be able to get a reasonable amount of leverage on it. And that should allow you to get, some yield on an asset that currently does not have yield. And to give you some examples, stablecoin yields are currently hovering between 8 and 20%, depending on the protocol.
Wow.
So, being able to lend out stablecoins to get a reasonable yield, to me seems like a good way to relatively safely, because you can over collateralize quite heavily, effectively lend out your XRP as a stablecoin. So I think that's another way that you could derive, of course, yield from XRP. And that's without getting into perps protocols and liquidity providing and all that kind of stuff, because that's that then takes on a level of risk that probably is beyond the level of risk a treasury would want to take.
Now, this next section is where the conversation gets really interesting. You got to stick around for this. You will see the future start to take shape. Remember, XRP, it is the governance token of the XAO DAO. And that leads to a really important question. What about FXRP? Can that be used for voting and profit sharing calculations? Understand this, right now, only XRP in your self-custody wallet or being held on a qualifying exchange would count. But Santiago and Hugo, they began troubleshooting the issue in real time, and spoiler alert, they can make it work. Now, Santiago then explains how the XAO DAO is already tapping into Flare technology today. They need reliable pricing oracles. It's critical. And this is really where you see the ecosystem coming together. XAO DAO right now, it's already leveraging XRP Ledger and all of its functionality, NFTs, things of this nature, the EVM Sidechain for smart contracts, and Flare for oracles and potentially treasury management. You see the larger puzzle coming together, these different pieces that interoperate to make something really functional and scalable. Finally, Hugo starts spitballing new ideas, imagining how the DAO's treasury could lend directly to members through decentralized technology, essentially offering a more traditional style lending services, but built on chain. Very similar if you listen to Ripple, what they are exploring on doing, but designed specifically for DAO members. This could benefit participants, generate yield back to the treasury, and you're going to see a lot of these types of discussions between developers in this ecosystem as we move forward. Here we just get to see it happen in real time. Watching these two brainstorm live about systems that they can build now, that's exciting. None of this would have been possible even a year ago, and this is only the beginning. You're going to see more of this early and often. It is going to be big. There's going to be an explosion of development on the XRP ledger.
That's a good question. And honestly, I don't have the answer to it. But what I can say is that we have a very close working relationship with the Flare team. And these are one of it's just a technical issue that we have to just figure out how to properly account for FXRP that's not in the user's wallet. Because the way by which we create governance on the XAO DAO is we do a scan of the XRP ledger, and through that scan, we determine the proportion of your voting power and the proportion of profits and losses in the DAO. So what we'll do in this case is similar to what we do with exchanges. Scanning the XRP ledger doesn't let us know how much XRP our users have on an exchange. So we have to work directly with the exchange to make that determination and then create the proper amount of governance tokens for the member. The F asset system is essentially, I look at it as kind of like a decentralized repository or custody for the exchange. So I don't see that as more than just a technical issue, but that's would be our goal to make sure that
I can
yeah,
I can tell you how to do it really simply. So the XRP ledger address that that is associated with the XAO DAO can simply send a memo transaction that specifies a Flare address where they hold their FXRP. Then you can have a very simple smart contract on Flare that proves that memo transaction and takes the sum of the XRP held on the XRP ledger plus the FXRP held on Flare and apportions them a power within the DAO. So not hard to achieve, and using Flare's data protocols and smart contracts to do it without any human in the loop.
I think the tricky part, Hugo, is going to be how we then take that information, but break it down to each individual member. Because
depending on what their address is, you can do it per address.
The XAO DAO is already utilizing Flare network technology. As I mentioned earlier, our membership fee is $10, but that's denominated in dollars, but it's payable in XRP. So as the price of XRP floats, you need to make a determination of how many XRP is required when you sign up for your membership. If it's $2.50 per XRP, you would need 4 to have your membership. So we decided to use a decentralized oracle, which is the FTSO system of the Flare network, to make that ongoing determination. So we're already tying that infrastructure.
I love that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, actually, honestly, nothing is off the table. It's really up to the imagination of our membership to decide the kinds of proposals they want to submit. And then, they have to engage with the community and get enough consensus. And then if a vote is passed and ratified, that's the direction we'll go in. So I encourage people who have good ideas and want to see new and interesting ways of using the tech stack to put forth their proposals and engage. I'm super excited to see what people come up with. And I'm going to be a supporter of those ideas that I think are most effective. So if there are opportunities to engage in investments that are other than what's offered by the market now, the DAO could build them. We intend to support a lot of developers as well through a combination of grants and direct investments, sort of like a decentralized venture capital system. And in that, there's opportunity, I think, for developers to build infrastructure similar to what you were just referring to. So we're encouraging it and we'll support it.
Beautiful.
What about like a mutual, like an old-fashioned mutual society? Because if the treasury stakes the XRP in Firelight, the treasury will then receive staked XRP, which is a token that is effectively one-to-one bound with XRP. You could potentially use that staked XRP to lend out to DAO members who have done a KYC process in the real world and all that kind of stuff, and have have a credit rating, and you could collate all this information on chain somehow. I think there's ways that we could think about it and talk to you about it, and you could lend to them on chain to a provable DAO member who's sort of provably known through a smart contract where, if they miss a payment, the loan is, called in or whatever like that. So I think it could be I think there could be some fun things you could do with the treasury balance that sort of becomes like an old fashioned mutual.
And this is why I was so excited to talk with Hugo. He and I haven't discussed this at all. So I'm hearing this first time, just like everybody else. And it's super exciting because this is exactly the kind of things that I was hoping for. Lending and borrowing through the DAO itself. That's amazing. And that's what this is all about, is peer-to-peer community systems that we can support each other and do so in as a risk-free way as possible. So that's awesome. So you guys can count on the fact that Hugo and I will be continuing this discussion offline.
Now, before I hand it over to Santiago to close this video out, make sure you check out the full interview over on Gen X's channel. It's world-class. Hugo, Santiago, Gen X, they did a great job. I only gave you small parts of that interview. Watch it in its entirety, but also make sure you get on the wait list so you know exactly when the XAO DAO is going to be launching. They're currently stress testing the EVM sidechain to ensure it's ready. You'll see both linked down below. Check them both out. Now, in this final clip, Santiago explains how the XAO DAO is positioning itself really as chain agnostic. Investments, partnerships, engagements, they'll happen across a variety of chains, just like we see happening here in real time with Flare in this conversation. XRP remains the governance token, driving voting, profit sharing, but the vision is much bigger. The future is multi-chain. We all understand that now. Santiago also touches on the XAO Hub, a marketplace for goods and services. This will be the first of many businesses owned by the DAO. Some will be built internally, like this one. Others will come through investments. It's an early glimpse into how the DAO will function as an economic engine, generating real value through community ownership. From there, the discussion turns to broader technology stacks. Every chain is moving towards modular buildouts, but this is a different approach that we see happening with XRP. Ethereum, they lean on an army of L2s, each duplicating the same core capabilities. The XRP ledger, though, its model is novel. L1 for lightning fast payments, an EVM sidechain for dedicated programmability, and a sovereign yet complementary chain like Flare. Together, they create this structure that's very unique in the blockchain space, and potentially far more efficient and scalable. I like this model here. This is going to be an exciting future, and the XAO DAO is one of the first real-world examples of that taking shape, that very future. Make sure you get on the wait list, subscribe to Jenna X, and now let's hear from Santiago to close out this video.
The DAO, by the way, the XAO DAO is kind of layer one agnostic, right? We only our membership fees and treasuries are in XRP, but our investments, our engagements is going to be cross-chain. The future is cross-chain and it's interoperable. And so we're going to be looking for as many partnerships with other networks and builders as possible. Eventually, we do intend to launch a XAO Hub, which is an application dedicated specifically to connecting individuals from various networks that have goods and needs for goods and services. You might need a marketing person or a venture capitalist or a developer. And there's really no reason to just make that solely for XRP, the XRP ledger. So Flare Network's going to be on that list, and it's very close to the top.
So the XAO DAO obviously utilizes both XRPL mainnet and the XRPL EVM sidechain. What technical challenges did you face when you were building the DAO across these two environments? And how does this dual approach enhance decentralization?
Yeah, so governance is the first issue that's tricky. Our NFTs for membership are minted on XRP Ledger mainnet, but governance is calculated and determined on the EVM sidechain. So the first thing is to make sure that that's done in a as transparent and fair way in accordance with our rules, our operating agreement. So that was the first challenge, is to make sure that we accurately reflect each of the members in proportion to the XRP that they have in their wallets. The second challenge was to make sure that we didn't drown out voices from a few large whales. So we have programmatic caps that kick in when the amount of XRP in a wallet exceeds a ratio to the total, which is it's kind of a long-winded way of saying that your voting power is capped so that your voice doesn't drown out everyone else. That was a little challenging, and that's something that's probably subject to change as we go forward. If the community decides that they want to relax that or make it tighter, that's within the purview. So those things had to be expressed technically. And the XRPL EVM sidechain is a fairly new release, but it does use Solidity and the smart contract, the same smart contracts that are used on Ethereum and other EVM sidechains, and even on Flare Network uses the EVM. So our development has a lot of experience. We built on the Flare Network on the EVM sidechain, and on the Flare Network, and now on the XRPL EVM sidechain. So that, from a technical perspective, is not that difficult. Now, in the future, calculating profits and losses for the membership, that's another challenge, because then you have to do essentially automated and batch payments. So at the end of year, if there's a large profit that's distributing out to all the members, you have to efficiently distribute those profits using the best possible technology. And that includes needing good oracles, good state connectors, good logic. So all of that tech stack is something in our wheelhouse and that we're capable of doing.